The kids in my class make fun of me. My teachers make fun of me. That's why I like coming to the beach with Mom, because she doesn't make fun of me.
Oh no.
The thing I like about Mom is she's always
I thought he forgot about that.
It's a raccoon with a talk show, slinging culture facts you might not know. From the biggest flops to the greatest hits, this is Trash Can Tidbits.
Hey there everyone, I'm Beaton. I got my fursuit head back, and I'm ready to give you some more fun trivia for the week with Trash Can Tidbits 81. Last week I asked the question, in addition to Shirley Temple, what other 1930s child star was Darla Dimple named after? The answer is Darla Hood. She's better known as Darla from the Our Gang and Little Rascals comedy shorts of the 1930s. Coincidentally, Darla and the rest of the gang had a resurgence in the 90s with the Little Rascals movie directed by Wayne's World director Penelope Spheris. That movie came out in 1994, around the same time that Cats Don't Dance went into production. Now, this week on Trash Can Tidbits, we head into the jungle to uncover some of the mysteries surrounding the Lord of the Jungle himself, Tarzan. Created by Edgar Rice Burroughs in 1912, the adventures of the man raised by the apes while discovering who he really is has captivated the world for well over a century, and the appeal continues to this day. This week, I'll be exploring 10 things you may not know about Tarzan. Let's get started with fact number 1. Did you know that contrary to popular belief, Tarzan never says the line, "Me Tarzan, you Jane," in any of the movies or even the books? The closest exchange that comes to this occurs in the first Johnny Weissmuller Tarzan film, Tarzan the Ape Man. Jane initiates the conversation by simply pointing to herself and saying, "Jane," and then Tarzan copies, ultimately understanding what she's asking, and he responds, "Tarzan." He continues to point at himself and at Jane, repeatedly saying, "Tarzan, Jane, Tarzan, Jane." The me and you aspect of the exchange has never happened. Fact 2. Did you know that Tony Goldwyn, the actor who played Tarzan in the 1999 Disney film, is the grandson of one of the major studio producers who made the original Tarzan films? His grandfather was producer Samuel Goldwyn, the G in the studio name MGM, or Metro Goldwyn Mayer, which was one of the top movie studios of the time. Fact 3. Did you know that Jane is actually American in the original Burroughs books? In addition, her last name is Porter, but the Weissmuller films not only made her British, but changed her last name to Parker. All future movie versions have also made Jane British for some reason, even though Tarzan himself is actually a British lord in the books. I guess it stuck. Fact 4. Did you know that Jane was originally going to die at the end of the film Tarzan Finds a Son due to actress Maureen O'Sullivan's wish to leave the series to make more non-Tarzan films? When MGM did announce that Jane was going to die at the end of the film, a huge public outcry had the crew go back and redo scenes where Jane was injured so it would show that she survives at the end of the movie. O'Sullivan ended up getting a hefty pay raise for her effort and for the decision, and she went on to make 2 more Tarzan movies before she left the role, and another actress was brought in to take her place. Bonus fact, O'Sullivan would later marry director John Farrow, who briefly took over as director for the film Tarzan Escapes, and they would later have a daughter, actress Mia Farrow. Fact 5. Did you know that actor Miles O'Keefe, who played Tarzan in the 1981 remake of Tarzan the Ape Man, actually started out as a stuntman for the film? Director John Derek and his wife, Bo Derek, who is playing Jane, essentially took over the whole production of the film, turning it into a semi-erotic pornographic film that had little to do with Tarzan himself and more focus on Jane. O'Keefe, in the end, didn't have any lines and didn't even appear on the poster, despite being the title character, and he also doesn't even appear in about half of the movie. This film production was also rather infamous for Bo Derek essentially firing almost all the crew and keeping O'Keefe on simply because he was in the best enough shape than all the other stuntmen, not really because of his acting. He was basically cast at the last minute when the other actor walked off the set. Fact 6. Did you know that the screenwriter of the 1984 film Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan, Lord of the Apes took his name off the film because he was unhappy about the director's vision and subsequent rewrite? Writer Robert Towne, who won an Oscar for his script for Chinatown, didn't like that his draft of the script was essentially rewritten by the film's director, Hugh Hudson. Towne asked to have his name taken off the script and have it replaced by P.H. Vizak, which was the name of his dog. The screenplay for Greystoke was nominated for an Oscar, making P.H. Vizak the first dog to be nominated for an Oscar. Fact 7. Did you know that Alexander Skarsgard, who played Tarzan in the 2016 film The Legend of Tarzan, mainly took the role to impress his father, actor Stellan Skarsgard? According to Alexander, his father is a big Tarzan fan and would often watch VHS tapes of the various Johnny Weissmuller films with his sons when they were younger. Stellan was reportedly very excited that his son would get to play his favorite childhood character. And even more ironically, Stellan was considered to play Tarzan himself in the aforementioned Greystoke before the role went to Christopher Lambert in his English-language film debut. Fact 8. Did you know that songwriter and rock star Phil Collins was chosen to write the songs for Disney's Tarzan as a way to distinguish themselves from their signature Broadway style? Collins' music score for Tarzan therefore contains a lot of percussion and drums, which was his style, and would provide a more rock-oriented sound than what came before, particularly in the songs Two Worlds and Trashing the Camp. He went on to win an Oscar for the song You'll Be in My Heart, which would also be the first time a Tarzan film would win an Oscar. Ironically, though the film is less Broadway, Tarzan would indeed be made into a Broadway musical a few years later, with Collins writing some new songs in addition to the more familiar songs. Fact 9. Did you know that Tarzan and Jane, the direct-to-video sequel to the Disney film, was actually the pilot film to the Disney TV series The Legend of Tarzan? The film consisted of the first 3 episodes of the series edited together to make a film. This was a common practice of Disney at the time, as a similar method was used for Atlantis: Milo's Return, the direct-to-video sequel to Atlantis: The Lost Empire, as a pilot film for an Atlantis TV series that didn't end up getting made. Disney decided to try again with Tarzan, and the show did end up being made. Disney's The Legend of Tarzan ran from 2001 to 2003. Finally, for Fact 10, I want to try to put something to rest that's been debated for decades. Did you know that the famous Tarzan yell from Johnny Weissmuller was only partially done by him? It's been established that Weissmuller was an accomplished yodeler, and he did prove he could do it himself in numerous interviews. It's quite possible he did it all himself for the movies, but he couldn't possibly have maintained it the entire time he played Tarzan. I do believe, though, that with a mixture of his own voice and an array of other smaller sounds, such as an opera singer and various animal sounds, one of the most iconic sound effects in the history of cinema was born. Recently, legendary sound effects man Ben Burt held an assembly a few years back where he attempted to recreate the Tarzan yell, and I'll put a link in the description so you can go check it out. It's really cool to see. And here's this week's trivia question. Masahiro Sakurai is best known among video game fans as being the creator of the Kirby and Super Smash Bros. Series for Nintendo. His current game company, Sora, continues to make games in those series, as well as the excellent Kid Icarus Uprising, which I secretly hope will get a re-release on the Switch. He got his start, though, at another developer for the Big N, in which he developed his first game, Kirby's Dream Land, at the age of 19. My question to you is, what was the name of the company that Masahiro Sakurai worked before he created his own company, Sora Limited? And there we go for this week. I hope you learned a few new things about the Lord of the Jungle, and definitely stay tuned for more themed lists. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and ring the bell for future video notifications. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.